It was a cold February evening in New Haven, Connecticut, the kind where the air cuts sharp and silence settles over the city like a heavy shroud. But on February 6, 2021, that silence was shattered by the sound of gunfire near Yale University. Kevin Jiang, a brilliant 26-year-old grad student at Yale, had just left his fiancée's home after a quiet dinner. Minutes later, he was found lying near his car, shot multiple times at close range. The future he was building was stolen in an instant. His death sparked not only grief, but a nationwide manhunt that would later cross international borders. What happened to Kevin Jiang? And what was the motive behind this targeted, cold-blooded killing? This is the story of love, jealousy, obsession, and a shocking twist that even seasoned detectives didn't see coming. Kevin Jiang was the kind of young man any parent would be proud of. A former U.S. Army tank operator, a graduate of the University of Washington, and now a graduate student at Yale studying environmental science. He was known for his discipline, his kindness, and his deep Christian faith. Those who knew him described him as humble, smart, and full of potential. Just a week before his death, he had proposed to his girlfriend, Zion Perry, also a Yale graduate and a devout Christian. The couple had announced their engagement joyfully on social media. To outsiders, Kevin's life seemed perfect. A brilliant academic, a loving partner, a promising future. But someone else was watching. On the evening of February 6, around 8:30 p.m., residents of East Rock, a quiet New Haven neighborhood, heard several gunshots. They rushed outside to find Kevin's body near his Toyota Prius, riddled with bullets. It was a brutal, execution-style killing. Police ruled out carjacking. His wallet, keys, and car were untouched. This wasn't random. This was personal. Investigators immediately began piecing together Kevin's last steps. He had just left Zion's apartment and was driving home. Somewhere in those few minutes, the killer struck. Who knew Kevin's route? Who would want him dead? Within days, suspicion turned toward a 29-year-old man named Qinxuan Pan, a researcher at MIT with a PhD in computer science and artificial intelligence. Pan was highly intelligent, and, as it turned out, deeply troubled. Here's where it gets strange. Qinxuan Pan knew Zion Perry. They had met at MIT years earlier. While she considered him a casual acquaintance, Pan allegedly developed an unhealthy obsession with her. When Zion got engaged to Kevin, Pan was seen reacting oddly on social media. Police uncovered that Pan had been in New Haven, hours from his home, on the night Kevin was murdered. Even more disturbing, surveillance showed him near the crime scene. He then vanished. Pan fled across the country, evading capture. He was placed on the U.S. Marshal's most wanted list and charged with murder and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. For 3 months, law enforcement combed through leads, stretching from the East Coast to Georgia. It wasn't until May 2021 that the FBI finally tracked him down in Montgomery, Alabama. He had been living under a fake identity, in an apartment rented under a false name, with multiple cell phones and stacks of cash. A high-tech fugitive, hiding in plain sight. As investigators dug into Pan's life, a dark motive emerged. Romantic obsession. Zion Perry had never dated him, yet Pan became fixated on her, stalking her online, sending unsolicited messages, and reportedly expressing anger over her engagement. It's believed that jealousy pushed him to kill. Kevin to Pan was the man who took Zion from him, a rival in a twisted fantasy. This was not a crime of passion. It was a calculated, premeditated attack rooted in control and delusion. Pan was extradited to Connecticut and pled not guilty. He faces multiple charges, including first-degree murder and unlawful possession of a firearm. Prosecutors have built a strong case. Cell phone data, surveillance footage, financial transactions, and witness accounts place him at the scene. If convicted, he could face life in prison. The trial has drawn national attention, not only because of its Ivy League connections but also for the chilling nature of the crime. It's a tale of intellect gone rogue, of obsession turned deadly. Zion Perry, Kevin's fiancée, has remained mostly silent in public. She asked for privacy and focused on healing through her faith. She has never publicly spoken about Pan or confirmed any prior interactions. In a statement she said, "Kevin was a gift from God. I miss him every day. I trust that justice will be done." The Yale community held vigils. His church mourned. His family, devastated, continues to honor his legacy through charity and scholarship efforts. Kevin's death serves as a haunting reminder that obsession, when ignored or hidden, can turn violent. It also reveals how even the most intelligent minds can be overtaken by darkness. The case has prompted universities to re-examine how they monitor student behavior and mental health. It also highlights the dangers of unreciprocated obsession, especially in the digital age. No one suspected that behind a quiet face like Pan's, something so sinister was brewing. Kevin Jiang was more than a victim. He was a son, a soldier, a scholar, and a man who believed in love. His story is not just about a murder. It's about a system that missed the warning signs, and a life that ended far too soon. As the trial proceeds and justice inches forward, we remember Kevin not for how he died, but for the light he carried. This is the story of a love interrupted, a dream destroyed, and a chilling mystery, solved not by genius, but by relentless investigation. The news of Kevin Jiang's death spread like wildfire, not just across Connecticut but throughout the United States. For many, this wasn't just another tragic crime. It was deeply personal. Kevin was a veteran, man of faith, a role model. He symbolized everything good about young ambition in America. Social media exploded with grief. Friends, fellow veterans, and Yale alumni shared their heartbreak. Hundreds of people attended candlelight vigils across the country, not only to mourn Kevin but to protest senseless violence. Zion Perry, despite her immense grief, became a symbol of strength. Though she withdrew from the media spotlight, her quiet dignity inspired thousands. But as the case unfolded, another emotion bubbled up beneath the grief. Rage. Investigators and journalists alike began examining Qinxuan Pan's online life. Though he maintained the appearance of a focused academic, his digital footprint told another story. He followed Zion on various platforms. Some reports suggest he had created fake accounts to monitor her. Friends say he made subtle, disturbing comments about being rejected and the pain of being invisible. One chilling Reddit post, later linked to Pan, read, "Some people think they're untouchable. We'll see." This wasn't just love gone wrong. It was a chronic case of stalking, masked under intellect and social silence. Authorities now urge people to take digital stalking more seriously, because sometimes red flags don't wave. They whisper. Pan's descent into obsession also prompted a conversation about pressure and mental health, especially in elite institutions like MIT and Yale. Some experts believe that Pan's deteriorating psyche went unnoticed due to the high-functioning facade common in academic overachievers. Isolation, perfectionism, and unprocessed emotions can be a dangerous mix. Add silent obsession and it becomes a powder keg. In Pan's case, it exploded violently. Universities across the U.S. have since doubled down on psychological support, early intervention programs, and anonymous mental health check-ins. But for Kevin Jiang, those reforms came too late as of now. Qinxuan Pan remains behind bars awaiting trial. Prosecutors are confident. The evidence is overwhelming. GPS data, video surveillance, eyewitness accounts, and damning digital communication. Pan's defense team, however, is preparing to argue mental instability and emotional distress, possibly aiming for a reduced sentence. The court date is expected later this year. The trial will likely be televised or heavily followed online. For Kevin's family, every delay feels like salt in an unhealed wound. Their message to the court is simple: justice delayed is justice denied. In the wake of the tragedy, Kevin's friends and family launched several initiatives in his name, including the Kevin Jiang Environmental Fellowship at Yale, supporting students who want to use science for good. Churches he attended have honored him with scholarships and youth mentorship programs, helping young men find discipline and faith just like Kevin once did. Zion Perry, though private, continues to promote causes Kevin supported, including veterans' rehabilitation and environmental activism. In a world filled with chaos, Kevin's legacy now stands for service, love, and purpose. This case teaches us something profound. Not all threats look like criminals. Sometimes they wear glasses, hold degrees, and go to Ivy League schools. But beneath the surface, there can be obsession, pain, and delusion simmering, invisible until it's too late. It also reveals how love, when weaponized by rejection, can turn fatal, and how systems, academic, social, and legal, still struggle to detect silent predators. Most of all, it reminds us that one person's obsession can become another person's tragedy. To everyone watching, this story isn't just about Kevin Jiang or Qinxuan Pan. It's about the world we live in, where love and danger often exist side by side, and where silence can be the most dangerous scream. If you or someone you know is experiencing unwanted attention, obsession, or digital stalking, speak out. Don't wait. Don't normalize it. Lives can depend on it. Kevin's story has ended, but yours doesn't have to. As Qinxuan Pan sat behind bars, the world around Kevin Jiang's story continued to evolve. It became more than just a tragic love triangle or a shocking Ivy League scandal. It became a conversation starter about violence, mental health, and how obsession can take root in the most unexpected places. Across campuses in the US, especially MIT and Yale, students began holding panels about dating safety, stalking, and how intellectual brilliance can sometimes mask disturbing emotional voids. Kevin's story became a case study in criminology classrooms, mental health seminars, and media ethics discussions. People weren't just asking, "Why did Pan do it?" They were also asking, "Could this have been prevented?" While Kevin's mother bravely stood before news cameras, speaking of forgiveness, Pan's parents remained hidden, devastated and silent. Two families, one grieving a son who was taken, another mourning a son they thought they knew. It was a collision of dreams. Kevin's dream of love, service, and science. Pan's dream, possibly shattered by rejection, failure, and jealousy. And at the center stood Zion Perry, not responsible for any of it, yet bearing the emotional weight of both lives intersecting under tragedy. She reportedly stepped away from social media, stopped responding to press inquiries, and found strength in her faith and inner circle. The silence became its own kind of scream. In late 2024, Qinxuan Pan's trial began. The courtroom was filled. Reporters, students, veterans, and grieving family members. The prosecution laid out the facts. GPS tracking, surveillance footage, recovered weapons, and Pan's multiple aliases during his run. His defense attorneys argued diminished capacity, citing extreme emotional distress and untreated mental illness. But the jury was unmoved. In May 2025, Qinxuan Pan was found guilty of murder. The sentence: life in prison without parole. Kevin's family embraced one another. The relief of justice, tinged forever by the ache of loss today. Kevin Jiang's name lives on not only in Yale records and news archives, but in the lives he impacted. From his fellow soldiers to the students he tutored, and the fiancée he was preparing to marry. His legacy is not just one of loss, but of purpose. Several scholarships have been created in his name, focusing on environmental science, veterans education, and faith-based leadership. His church continues to speak of him as a young man of honor, discipline, and unwavering kindness. Even in death, Kevin continues to inspire. This case tells us that not every danger comes with a warning sign. Not every criminal looks like one. And not every heartbreak ends in tears. Some end in tragedy. It reminds us to check in on those who seem distant, to take stalking seriously, and to protect those who are silently crying for help, whether victims or potential perpetrators. In a world where rejection is treated like humiliation, where obsession is glorified in pop culture, and where red flags are ignored until blood is spilled, we must do better. For Kevin, for Zion, for every silent victim. This case was researched and presented using AI-assisted tools to ensure journalistic responsibility, accuracy, and storytelling depth. All information is based on publicly accessible facts available at the time of this publication. Studio Microphone, subscribe to stay updated on high-profile, trending true crime cases that the world needs to hear. Until next time, stay cautious, stay alert, and remember, even geniuses can snap. As Qinxuan Pan sat behind bars, the world around Kevin Jiang's story continued to evolve. It became more than just a tragic love triangle or a shocking Ivy League scandal. It became a conversation starter about violence, mental health, and how obsession can take root in the most unexpected places. Across campuses in the US, especially MIT and Yale, students began holding panels about dating safety, stalking, and how intellectual brilliance can sometimes mask disturbing emotional voids. Kevin's story became a case study in criminology classrooms, mental health seminars, and media ethics discussions. People weren't just asking, "Why did Pan do it?" They were also asking, "Could this have been prevented?"